Monster Reborn is back, and Grinder Golem is gonna be pushed to the side a little bit. Konami just released a brand new ban list that's going to change the meta, change the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game a lot. Xylophony here with Mario to go over the many changes, significant changes that have been made to not only the TCG but tournament gameplay as well. So we have a list of cards here. These 28 cards are everything that's affected, and they're all affected in a pretty big way, and some of them will just change a lot. It's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
One of the big changes is definitely one of the staple cards that have been in the decks recently, and that's the Blackwing Gofu.
Yeah, so let's just start off going down the list top to bottom. So, Blackwing Gofu, massive card for any deck using links. You get 3 things onto the field right away, 2 tokens and the Blackwing Gofu. That can bring you out a free Decode Talker. That can set you up for even bigger link plays. This can fit in very easily into any deck. It was limited before to 1, but now in advanced format tournament gameplay, it is going to be banned completely. So what are your thoughts on that, Mario?
It's kind of understandable because Gofu was just a free link monster, and I think they're trying to eliminate the easy ways that people were starting off with.
Because this thing is usable in any deck. So
it was in my Trickstars.
It's in half the new decks I make when I'm like when I see they have 3 or more link well, really any deck now that link format's a thing and you need some link monsters. So the only thing you're not going to see this guy in is like a Monarch deck. Otherwise, you'll probably be able to find a spot for him. So I can see that. He's still going to be in the TCG, but he's not going to be in the advanced format. So that's a thing. The next card up that was affected is the Dandelion, which this card is very popular with some decks, setting up plant tokens just because, yeah, once again, easy tokens, easy link monsters, it just pops out tokens.
It's not only that, it's not even specific on the way it was sent to the grave. If it's sent to the grave by any means, you get those tokens automatically, and people were abusing that because some decks were able to utilize returning cards from the graveyard back to the hand and then back to the grave again. And then when that initiates, guess what happens? More tokens.
And you get to cycle it and keep those link plays going. It looks like this ban list is definitely limiting the
link plays,
unending plays that link format has allowed, which is probably for the best because now the other things will, come more to the front. So
no more 20-minute Grinder Golem.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. So that one, it was limited now, but yeah, that is also in the same position as Blackwing Gofu. It is just going to be forbidden in advanced format. Now let's get to some of the stuff that's getting big changes. I'm going to bring up Double Iris Magician and Performapal Skullbat Joker. These things are super crucial in a Pendulum Magician deck. Pendulum Magicians are massive right now too. Go ahead.
Yeah, these cards were one of the staples, I believe. These are one of the cards you go straight into.
Yeah, I haven't played these decks much, but I know that Iris Magician was one of the good ones, and I always fear seeing it when it comes out. Because it's just good, man.
Yeah, this is going to change up. This may change up the playstyle. I don't know if it will kill the deck, but it may definitely change up the playstyle. And it will definitely not be as fast as it once was without these two cards.
The speed and reliability is going to be dropped for these guys. Same with the Skull Crobat Joker. Like, that's just going to ruin the reliability of the deck. So I think it's gonna fall. I think it's gonna fall to the wayside. I don't know if it can do it without these cards. At least not be meta without these cards. So next up we got the Level Eater. I don't know what specific combo got this one banned, but it is a really good card.
It's not that. It's the fact of with Level Eater, you just have to bring out one big monster that can be easily special summoned, even if it has 0 attack and defense. And guess what? You have a constant link fodder.
Oh yeah, because this guy, you bring him back and there you go, turn into your Link Karibo. Oh look, now you have him in the graveyard again. So
have him eat the same monster, bring him back. Oh, a second Link Karibo.
Oh, so as long as you stuff your deck with Link monsters, this guy can keep doing it, huh?
Yes, because he's not limited to once per turn.
He's not. Oh my god, that is almost as gnarly as Grinder Golem.
Exactly, and with Link Karibo being a thing with one monster,
yeah, pack yourself up with those Link 1 monsters, and then you'll turn them into bigger stuff. Spooky.
I'm just glad this card was not banned and not Link Karibo.
Yeah, because you need Link Karibo for like a lot of Link plays. This is just one of the ways you abuse Link Karibo. So I think they chose the right card to get rid of there.
Yeah.
And then a card that's not changing except for tournament play, Max C. This is just it's been limited to 1 for a long time because it's insanely good, but it's just out of tournaments now. That's pretty big.
because of how fast people are special summoning now.
I find that so much fun, but I can see why they would ban that. Just because when you see that Max C hit the field, you got to make a choice. All right, am I gonna go for it and fill their hand, or am I just gonna, am I gonna let them stop me? So I think it's still good in TCG, and it's still gonna be in the game, so that's good.
Yeah. One of the things I do see happening is they may ban it for now, but I do see them bringing it back to 1 in a later format.
Yeah, I don't see Max C as like needing the ban, but I can see why they would do that, just because that would complicate things when people come out with their like 20 card hands in the second round of the duel. You know, that just, it's easy, and well, it's not easy in Wango Pro. I've had it happen to me before, and it is hard to click the cards when you have that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we're getting into the stuff that some of the cards that were forbidden before, just banned completely, are getting moved to limited.
One of them is Monster Reborn. One of the
I certainly
original
hope you've
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
heard of Monster Reborn before. This is, yeah, one of the original cards. I have it in my deck, and I have like the original Yu-Gi starter deck. So.
And this card is legendary for the fact of this can save you in a duel. Like, this is like your Heart of the Cards draw.
It is massive. Now, in today's gameplay, I don't think it's as massive for all decks, because it's not always about the power, it's about the effects and how you can combo those effects. But, you know, in a standard deck, Monster Reborn can resummon the most powerful monster that's been played thus far.
Either from your grave.
A whole lot of attack points. And of course, you get the effects and everything, so it
And
can
it's either
be
from
insanely
your
good.
grave, or you can be a troll and take your opponent's monster.
Yeah, but the reason I think Monster Reborn is going to be the biggest is because a lot of things get their effects off by being special summoned these days. So even just like the new deck I was looking at, the Skyfang Brigade, that thing will be insane with the Monster Reborn in there, because then you chain all the effects again by being special summoned.
And it's kind of weird that they brought it back, especially since they just released a new version of Monster Reborn called Selective Reborn.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's going to help certain things. I think it'll bring certain things into play. And coming to think of it, I don't know if it'll help any of the like current top meta decks too much.
I think it will help some of them out, like Skyfang Brigade will definitely benefit from it.
I said meta decks. But yeah.
No, but but you forget, Skyfang is an early build right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's got potential, and now its potential has been increased. So
There's going to be more cards coming out for it because it's not a complete archetype just yet.
absolutely.
So you don't know if there's going to be a spell card or a monster that's just going to make them a monster deck.
But yeah, let's stick with the cards before we get to the Grinder Golem discussion. Let's see. Also, what was forbidden and added is the Apocalypse Towers. Now, I've never seen this card before because I've only been playing since it's been banned, but Mario had some strong feelings about this card coming back. You want to explain why?
Because when I was first doing tournament play, it was back when I first started competitive. It was around the time Quillflorts was a thing. When they first came out and were a thing. They basically were the bane of everyone's existence. They were the most expensive deck to make at the time. Because of the fact of this guy right here, Quillflort Towers. If you read his effects...
I'm just going to read the effect to everybody real quick, yeah. He requires 3 tribute, so not super easy to summon, but he's unaffected by spell and trap effects, and by activated effects of any monster whose original level is lower than this card. It's level 10, by the way. So everything's going to be lower, pretty much, unless you get a crazy synchro or a god card out on the field. So, and then, once per turn, you can make your opponent send 1 monster from their hand or field to the graveyard. So
back then, when having a big hand wasn't always a thing, sometimes you were forced to send your monster that you spent a long time summoning to the grave.
Oh yeah. This thing is insane. I'm just looking at it right now. Sure, it may not be the easiest to work with, but if you get this thing out onto the field, there's a lot of top meta decks that will not be able to handle it, right?
Especially like cards like, let's look at Crawlers, all low level.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you actually are going to need like power cards, and right now it's all about the effects and the effects combining with each other of lower level monsters.
Although,
like, this thing also lowers attack and defense of special summon monsters, which means you need to pull something out with 3,500 or more.
There is one thing I do see that why they brought it back out, at least to
Yes.
one. Because of links. It does not affect links.
Ooh, okay. That's gonna be how. Okay, I can see why it's brought back then. That's actually
But it's
reasonable.
not one. But if you have
Yeah.
like 3 people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because they can still affect links in the sense of they can still send them to the grave if they're summoned out on your opponent's turn.
True, it still has that. But it is limited to one, so there is, as long as you get the right cards in your deck, link cards to back up a, little reversal play, then you'll make it happen. We also have Perform Mage Damage Juggler coming in. Now, I was wondering at first about this card, but looking at it, it's going to help against burn decks a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to. That's probably the reason is because Trickstars are the bane of everyone's existence
Trickstars are
right
huge.
now.
I saw it and I was like, ooh, this is going to hurt my Gem Knights deck pretty badly, because my Gem Knight deck currently is all about the burn. Trickstars are rated much higher than Gem Knights, and they are all about the burn. So this thing is going to be big. It's going to give a little bit of that spellcaster support, a little bit of life back into it after losing, half of their other good cards. But, I think it'll see a lot of play.
And it's simply another hand trigger trap if you look at it.
Yeah,
Hand
exactly.
trick.
And people love their hand traps these days.
Mhm.
And then another one that's coming back, I think I see the reasoning for it, but Solemn Judgment was banned, now limited to one.
You did skip one card though, the Spiral Resort.
No, I'm talking about the cards that are forbidden and then came back, not the cards that
Oh.
were, yeah. So,
Let's
so
see.
Solemn Judgment comes back, so it's another Solemn coming back. Now, I think I see why this one was brought back, because with the current meta, Solemn spamming is not as common as it used to be, because hand traps are so much bigger than Solemns are now. Putting something on the field is often harder than it used to be. So a Solemn Judgment is, it's expensive in a lot of situations. Often it's a great option to go with, because it'll stop your opponent. But
From doing whatever, whether it's a normal, special, spell or trap card, even graveyard or hand activations are negated by this.
yeah, and that might even be a reason it's in there, just so it'll stop the hand trap spam that's going on lately, or at least slow it down a little bit. So I can see myself throwing a Solemn Judgment into a lot of decks. In place of
Everyone
one of the
is.
other Solemns.
It's
Yeah.
going to replace one of the Psalms. That's a given.
Yeah, it's not going to, people aren't going to add this in addition to their other Psalms, but I think they'll make the replacement. So yeah, now we're getting to those cards that are new, fresh. People want to try them out, but they're now limited down to one. And the biggest one for me, Grinder Golem. If you guys have been watching the duels on my channel, you've seen I've been testing Grinder Golem. I've been finding different ways to abuse it.
And you guys have been getting.
Yeah, you guys have loved it in the comments. It is fantastic. So it is being limited, as I think anyone could have called out. Grinder Golem is insane. It spams. How I was mentioning those continuous, endless link combos before. You can go crazy bringing out like all your best link monsters, double Firewall Dragon, going crazy, but this card as well as Firewall Dragon are now limited to one. So
just to stop that play.
yeah, so you can still do the play as long as you don't go into Firewall Dragon. The thing is, I don't think it's going to be worth running the play as much anymore, because I've talked about it before, and the downside of running Grinder Golem is you need to pack like 7-8 link cards specifically for the combo into your extra deck. So it's only really viable if you, one, have a link heavy deck, or two, just don't
Have
really
Grinder.
need your extra deck a lot. So
Yeah, and in order to make that viable for anyone, you have to have at least 3 Grinder Golems, so you have the
Yeah.
option to try to go into it. But with it only being one, it's going to be such a high risk trying to get it.
yeah, I definitely don't see myself leaning on it that much, because sacrificing half of your extra deck just for the off chance you'll draw this one card in your 40 card deck, that's a tall order. Combo's still going to be there, but it's going to be way less common, and I think people are just going to stop using it for the most part unless they're already running a link heavy deck. So
Yeah, and Grinder Golem was just a supplement.
yeah, and Firewall Dragon was just, I think it was more of a side effect to that, but of course, we've talked about the many ways you can spam tokens onto the field and summon multiple link monsters. Double
Yep.
Firewall Dragon was just kind of an abuse of power when it came as an after effect of doing that, so that's just a safe play. I think in any fair balanced play, you're not really going to double Firewall Dragon anyway. I think in most of my Link plays, I wouldn't Firewall Dragon in the first place. Obviously, it's good, but there's other good plays you can make, so that's not too massive. But it is interesting to see. Let's see what else was, let's see, limited down to 1. So, of course, we talked about Grinder Golem and Firewall Dragon. That's going to change the Link game a lot. But Spiral Resort, that's a big one. Because Spirals are pretty big right... Well, maybe not anymore. Spirals are pretty big right now, and the field card is very important to them. And now, I mean, you can have triple terraformings and run ways to get this card to your hand, but once it's gone, you know, you only got one of your field cards.
Yeah, there are now some cards that can return field spells back to the deck or hand, but the fact is that there's only one is going to be harmful to the deck.
And you're going to need to run those cards to support just the fact that you have one of these.
Yep. Let's see.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, and they're trying so hard to nerf Spirals because Spirals has been one of the banes of many tournaments in both the US.
Yeah. I've seen it just dominates things. Like, I hardly ever see it in WiGo Pro regular dueling, but I've seen in a tournament Spirals just apparently crushing it left and right. So this, as well as another ban that they made, is going to probably put an end to the Spirals. I think it is.
It probably won't get rid of the monsters that appear in other decks because they're just good to chain off each other, but the main deck as a whole might be seeing misplay.
I think that's everything that's been set to limited. But now, the massive list we have of random cards that have now been unlimited. So let's take a look at some of those. We got the Artifact Moraltalk. You know what this card is? I don't.
Artifact Moraltalk. It's basically during the artifact formats that it's basically a different version of the trap monsters. You set these guys as spell and trap cards on the field, as even though they're monsters, and you try to get your opponent to destroy them.
And you bait them.
Yeah,
I like this card already.
But they have their own cards that can destroy themselves. So that way you can.
And with a lot of the things that you can do, like such with, you know, Metal Foes, for example, and you destroy your own cards, I guess it won't be done as much with, you know, the Pendulum Magicians anymore. But, hey, destroying this card, I can see it. People love their hand traps, and it is now, instead of one allowed in your deck, it's unlimited. But then again, I guess we would have seen it more often, even if. So, I don't know if we're going to see a ton of this card.
Yeah, we might not, but back then, when I was playing this format, artifacts were not their own deck. It was rare to see that, but you saw them in decks as random cards because you could set them down as normal, and then your opponent's normal play, and especially in turn 1, Mystic Space Typhoon, your back row, so that way I have a safe play. But if this was set late play and your opponent was just clearing out cards, the fact is that when this card is sent to the grave and special summon, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it.
Yeah, that's
potentially
good too.
Destroying their play.
It's a good card. I don't see it going into a lot of decks, but I can definitely see it going into decks that do focus on destroying their own cards on purpose.
Yeah.
But then again, it was limited before. I haven't really seen it that much, so I don't know.
I do remember this.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do remember seeing this a lot in the Fire King deck.
Okay, cool. Moving on to one we've toyed with lately, the Black Luster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning. It was just semi-limited to 2 cards, but now it's being unlimited. Do you see any difference in here? Would you run 3 cards in a Black Luster Soldier? Because it's good. It's very good.
It's good in its ritual deck. I know that. Its ritual deck, that one you've used before, I've seen and we faced. It's good in that. It's
easy to summon, it's got good effects.
Unfortunately, I don't know if unlimiting it to 3 will do anything because honestly, people will still run 1 or at least 2 because of the fact.
I don't know if I'd run 3. 2 is, I'd say 2. 2 might be the right amount to run. But hey, with some other changes that I'm about to bring up in this list, maybe it's going to be a good call. Actually, yeah, I'll just bring up that change now. Preparation of Rites is now unlimited. So just about any ritual deck is going to get a pretty serious buff from this. Because then you can get a monster and the spell card, you know, to your hand. So ritual cards are getting that boost. The fairies I played with recently, the Black Luster Soldiers, definitely getting a boost from that.
Unfortunately, Black Luster doesn't get that boost from it because Blackluster is a level 8 ritual summon, while this only helps
Oh
level
yeah,
7 and
true.
below.
Fair enough. I didn't think about that. I was so ready to say Blackluster might actually get seen, but yeah.
No, but the thing that might be helping it out is not Blackluster, but it's Necros. Because
Yeah.
the reason this was limited or heavy limited was because of Necros being the monsters they were.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely gonna, in those heavy ritual decks, it's going to see 3 copies in there. So that's actually a pretty big difference. Then we got a card such as Card Trooper. It was 2, but now it's 3. So, could be used in certain situations. I don't think it's going to make any major changes, but it'll probably annoy some people. Next up, we got Thunder King Ryo, and I've definitely seen this card a couple times recently. It's good for negating those special summons and stop some very common plays lately.
Yeah, this guy used to be one of the staple cards people side decked for killing certain decks back then.
I can see that.
And it's also one of the biggest cards for any anti-meta deck. Those prevent you from doing anything decks.
Oh yeah, it certainly stopped me before, so I can see that. Then we also have Brain Control. You can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and take control of that until the end phase. Okay, and that's becoming unlimited, I believe, yeah. It was 2 cards, now it's 3. I guess you're not going to throw 3 of these into your deck, but, it's not the worst card.
No,
So.
and the fact is that you can use that card for whatever.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Just put him into a Link Karibo, the ultimate disrespect. I also missed up the Brionic is now going from 2 to 3. Now, the move from 1 to 2 was actually just recently. When I was doing Fight Club Season 2, right before we started that, he was boosted up to 2. So, that was a thing.
I think it's just the fact of you don't see many synchros now because of Link play, that he's not going to be spammed or abused as recently.
Yeah, I don't see myself ever running 3 of these. Situationally, 2 is still, that's the most you're going to do probably, but I'm sure some decks will be able to make use of it. So a lot of these cards that are becoming unlimited feel like they're very situational.
Yeah, they are, and a lot of them don't go into general decks. Sometimes they go into specific decks, so...
Yeah, I remember Brionic was the only synchro, really the only extra deck monster worth summoning in my Sea Serpents deck, so...
Yeah.
That was cool. And even then, it wasn't always, so I don't think it's going to break anything major. Then we have coming up the El Shaddoll Fusion. Now, I played with Shaddoll's a little bit. I did a deck learning video on that you can check out if you want to learn a little bit about them as well. And El Shaddoll Fusion, I think we're going to see, 3 of those in Shaddoll decks. I don't know if it's going to make the difference to bring Shaddoll decks back up, but then a big one, Future Fusion, unlimited.
Yeah. This is one that took me by surprise, actually, because...
Yeah.
There's a lot of new cards. Actually, I think I know why it was unlimited, actually. It's going to be supporting the new Dark Magician.
Ooh, it is. Yeah, that definitely is. Now,
the new Dark Magician.
Future Fusion's been set to 1 as long as I can remember, so I can't even really fathom the concept of running multiple of these, but I don't see why not in a lot of decks. It's just a really good fusion card, and, fusions aren't always the easiest to get out. This makes it easy.
Especially since a lot of cards are now working together with fusions. This might be a way of Konami saying, run more fusions because we're having a lot of new Link monsters that work
so far.
Fusion.
The look of this is the Link spam is being nerfed, which that's just fair. Synchros are being slightly limited with some of the changes. I think that rituals are being slightly boosted. I think fusions are being boosted. So it's gonna try to even that out a little bit more,
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna see a lot of the format changing in the next month or so. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the combos people bring out to abuse these.
Yep,
it's gonna be interesting. So as well as Brain Control, Mind Control is also being unlimited. So there you go.
It's better than Brain Control in the fact of it's not costing you any life points to use.
Yeah, in most situations that will be better. I guess sometimes you're gonna want to be able to attack. Because with Brain Control, you can attack, right?
Yeah, so. It gives you unlimited control of it.
Yeah, but this also doesn't just have to be a monster. It's a normal summoner set. Either way, they're both unlimited now, so feel free to take control of your monsters to your heart's content now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and that can definitely work in a lot of decks. We've already talked about the Sacrifice, how that's going to make the Klee, or however that is, set up
Quill Forts
a lot more
back.
viable. Yeah. Bottomless trap hole. Here's a big one. Unlimited. 1 to unlimited.
Yeah, and it was like kind of ironic because I think we were just talking about like how, you just stick one in there because you can only put one in there. You never really had you never had really much of an argument to just put one.
Yeah,
but now
it's never a bad card. People special summon all the time.
Exactly, and now people are gonna make the arguments like, should we run 2?
Yeah,
should we run 3?
That's a hard thought now because yeah, one card is one card, but it's a good card. It's not an amazing card, so I can see why they're unlimiting it. But still, people are gonna run at least 2 in some decks.
Exactly, and especially for cards, people may favor this card over a Solemn, because this card banishes rather than just sending straight to the grave.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost the life points. Yeah, if that's your main use for Solemn, I could see that. Side decking this card, big.
Yeah.
Side decked for Bottomless Trap Hole. Another thing that I was surprised being unlimited, Torrential Tribute. Because Torrential Tribute is huge for some decks. Any of these cards that benefit from you destroying your stuff. And plus, it just destroys the whole field. This thing is a dark hole and it's unlimited now.
Yep. And not only that, the freaking plays you can now do with some of your decks now that are going to make Torrential Tribute such an abuse card that
bait your opponent into it. There's so many decks I'm already thinking of that I'm going to run at least 2 Torrential Tributes in.
Exactly. One of them is definitely going to be one of the what was it? It was Trickstars is going to love this card because they never have that much of a field presence in terms of like starting off. They're going to
if you have the field presence you want, you're probably going to win. If you don't, then you're going to want to use Torrential Tribute.
Exactly. And if you want to start off the duel with like your opponent not having anything, Torrential Tribute is going to be that card.
Yeah, this thing is just savage. So that is crazy good. Then we have Ceasefire. I can see that. It's just gonna be useful in some decks. Not so much. It was just semi-limited before. I don't know if I don't know. Certain burn decks will run like 3 of them, but even in like the burn decks I've built, I didn't run 2 of them in.
Yeah, because this was for a very old style of burn decks. You remember back then there was a lot of monsters that have flip summon effects that just burn your opponents. This was the card to help supplement them.
Yeah, but right now the burn isn't. It's from all face up stuff. At least the main 2 things I'm thinking of are. I did consider this in my like Troll Bowl Samochi deck, but even then it didn't really make the cut because it's just burn value to what it is isn't high enough. You'd need to run something really specific. And obviously that specific thing isn't really used too much in current gameplay, so why not let people do it?
Yeah, I think this card is in here because I think Konami's trying to tell people right now, this is a good way of slowing down your opponent is to set them face down, except for Link monsters, unfortunately, that cannot be set to defense nor face down.
True. And then finally one that I think, like, if we had the opportunity, either of us could have called Ojama Trio now going to unlimited from semi-limited, because it's in Link format, it's just not good anymore, period.
Because your opponent can now use those 2 links, can now use those tokens for links now.
Yeah, it used to be such a fun card, such a trolley card in a lot of decks. Like in my Toon deck, it is phenomenal, but it's just not good anymore because you can just use those tokens to benefit yourself. There's no reason to run this in a deck in Link format. I don't see it. Unless you're already ready to destroy them.
Yeah, unless you're running like a Ojama deck that's gonna eat those tokens right away with like maybe Ojama King.
Maybe running a dinosaur deck, you could make it work as well, but just because you get that 1,000 damage from taking out tokens and you get to attack all of them.
Yeah, so
it's very specific uses, and that's not even common. You don't even do that in a dinosaur deck. So that's all the major changes that are coming to the ban list, and they are indeed major. What are some of your predictions on what's going to change, just that we haven't mentioned already?
I'm seeing Monster Reborn being put back on the ban list next formats.
I don't know. I don't think it boosts any of the current like top meta decks.
Unfortunately, people are gonna find a way of abusing it, especially since a lot of decks. They will, because there's some decks I just realized that have spell returns to their hand.
Ooh, true. Ooh, so yeah, that'll be pretty good.
Having this in your deck,
it's one monster though for an entire card you have to draw. I don't know.
But it's a free
meta gameplay.
No cost.
I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely possible. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying in most top meta decks, it's not going to see use.
Maybe not at right away, but once there's a card that's gonna allow you to get like Magician of Faith, that's unlimited for a few formats ago.
Sure.
It can return a spell card back to your hand. It can be potentially used to bring this back. There's a lot of other cards that can return.
Look, I'm just happy to see
stuff.
Monster Reborn back, and I want it to stay, okay? This is one of the cards
Yeah.
from my childhood, man. I want it.
Well, it could also be that they're trying to catch up to the OCG, because in the OCG, Monster Reborn has always been on 1.
True. It's quite possible. Let's see, other things. Yeah, we mentioned Grinder Golems are pretty much going to fall off except for Link heavy decks. Because in other decks, there's no reason to stack your extra deck like that.
Oh, you're gonna have to edit some of your decks now.
Oh, yeah. They're going to see that.
Oh
It's,
no, about 70% of your new ones.
My new 50%. I'll say 50%. Let's see. Yeah, I see Spirals not being top anymore. Pendulum Magician's not being at the top anymore. There's a couple little things here that just there's like one or two cards that kind of slow down Trickstars, but there's also that card that helps them a little bit. So it's like, I don't see.
It's
kind of
like give and take.
Yeah, I don't see that going immediately anywhere. And plus, like, I don't see everyone just running Perform Mage Damage Juggler. Maybe side decking it, because
I would side deck it.
Yeah. If I was going into Fight Club, I would have side decked that against you.
And you as well.
Yeah, both of us. Oh, geez, Battle of the Burn.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. We're not editing our decks, mind you. This is not going to affect our current Fight Club decks.
Yeah, because just like a season before, when the stuff changes, it doesn't. Because that would completely redo my entire deck. Like,
Yeah,
there's
If
a lot
this
of
was to
things
hurt
that
our
are
deck,
different.
if we were forced to change out our decks for these changes, we would have to be given the option to re-edit our decks, which would not seem fair to some of the opponents who are stuck on using their
I would
current
literally change 7 of my extra deck cards if this ban list was in the current Fight Club. Just
same
because
with me.
I would not grind a golem.
Exactly. And same with me, I would just be changing out some cards, because seeing as how some of them are now playing against you guys, I would be changing out a few. But as we said, that would not be fair for the rest of the people in this Fight Club, just because of some of our cards got banned.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling down the feed on the Reddit. People are really upset for losing Dandelion. Plants will never get their chance. People's minds getting blown after losing Max C. Torrential Tribute, Bottomless Trap Hole. Everyone's going crazy for the Monster Reborn. Oh man, just seeing these, it's pretty crazy. Oh yeah, the Clip Forts. Trickstars people like, we fine.
Well, for now, in the OCG actually, their trap card, one of their bread and butters, the Reincarnation, as you saw, was limited to 1.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that one's in Japan they're trying to limit it Trickstar plays.
All right, so we'll see. Yeah, if you guys in the comments have any predictions or thoughts on the changes that were made in this, since there were so many big ones, I mean, I'm sure you're all kind of excited to see what Monster Reborn's going to bring in, but anything else you think that's pretty exciting or interesting, make sure to let us know in the comments, because this is my first time really looking seriously at the updated ban lists, and I think it's a great one to jump into because it's so massive.
Exactly, and if you guys have anything to say about what we said, like maybe some of the predictions we just made, like if you have anything to say add on to that, just tell us in the comments below.
Even just let us know, is Mario's call about them relimiting or rebanning Monster Reborn right, or is my thought about, yeah, let it stay, it's not gonna change much, right? And don't just say I'm right because it's my channel. You can say either one.
Yeah, because honestly I do feel like it's gonna be like another situation with Snatch and Steal. They're just going to reban it.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, I don't really have experience on the different changes that happened in the ban list, so you might be right. I just want to see some Monster Reborn. But thank you guys for watching. Of course, if you have liked this discussion, make sure you leave a like on the video. So many of these cards are going to be leaving and entering our decks, and I can't wait to go through all that with you guys. So, have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.
See ya, folks.